Hello Internet and welcome back to another video of me ranting about something that's been going on in my mind for a long time. And those two things are gatekeeping and anti-critics. Now, I'm gonna assume a lot of people know what gatekeeping is. It's kind of been around the interwebs for quite a while. We had Gamergate, Comicsgate, and stuff like that. But I feel like because I came up with the term anti-critics myself, it might be used around the internet. I don't know. um, I feel like I need to explain that. So let's get into what anti-critics are, what spurred me on, and explain what I want to rant about today. So anti-critics are a, like it's kind of self-explanatory. It's anti-critics, people who do not like critics, people who are against critics in general. And if you may or may not know, there was a video coming out recently that was titled YouTube Critics Are Lying to You. Now, I'm a fan of a lot of YouTube critics. I watch a lot of YouTube criticisms and I find them entertaining, I find them engaging, and I find them kind of inspiring in a way. But comments on that video, comments on other videos of people talking about the Acolyte show being bad, or comments about like people not liking Marvel anymore, people are like they're just so against the idea of criticism nowadays. And I feel like that's a dangerous mindset. Not like a completely hazardous, oh, the people are gonna, be in trouble or something. No, like just for the for the livelihood of entertainment, I feel like it is dangerous to have this mindset of being against critics and criticisms. And because at the end of the day, the reason why I stopped being a fan of the MCU is because I had a standard for the MCU. I felt like the MCU was at a certain level of quality, and then it started falling off, and we started getting stuff now. Shit sticks. What the hell? All right. Sorry. We started getting shit quality stuff. We started getting like subpar shows, subpar movies, writers who didn't know what the freak they were doing. People were directing stuff when they had no reasons to, like no background or experience to run multi-million dollar blockbusters and stuff like. I don't want to hate Marvel, and yet you'd find people talking about like, oh, no one hates Marvel like Marvel fans, or no one hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans, or whatever. And I'm like, do you not have a a quality standard or something? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this comes off rude or like elitist or whatever, but when you just settle for anything that Marvel comes out because it's got the Marvel logo on it, you do not have standards. You are not someone who cares about quality. You care about just liking the IP because it's the IP. And at the end of the day, if we all have this mindset of settling for subpar quality stuff, the stuff that we fell in love with as kids are going to dwindle and turn into slop. I'm sorry. It's just how it's going to go. If we don't have people criticizing bad writing or poor quality stuff or poor management, these producers making these games, making these movies, making these shows and stuff, they're not gonna have any incentive to do better. And you might be thinking, oh, it's fantasy, so why does it matter? Like Spider-Man's not real. Star Wars isn't real. So why does it matter if we care about the quality of these things? They're just entertainment at the end of the day. Well, the thing is, yes, it's true that they are just entertainment and fantasy at the end of the day. But at the same time, excuse me, these stories, these characters, they mean something to people. They inspire people to be better. Spider-Man, for example. I've been a huge fan of Spider-Man my entire life, and it's gotten me to the point where I am unhealthily helping people at the expense of my own life. Not because I'm an idiot, which yeah, that's fair. I'm an idiot, but Because I want to help people the same way I see Spider-Man helping people in his movies and his shows and his video games. He he helped me be a person who cares about others, and I believe that if we help someone, we help everyone. Same thing that the May Foundation kept talking about, you know? I feel like characters such as Spider-Man or characters such as the Jedi, they exist to help people be better people at the end of the day. Not because of any political rights or wrongs, it's because they teach people to care for each other, to have strong wills, to do the right thing even when it's hard, or do what's necessary even when choices are difficult. You know, we have villains because we have people who also have a lot of ideologies similar to villains, like Killmonger, for example, and they're bad guys because they do and like even if their reasons are sound, we want to make sure people don't go too radical in their beliefs or desires to make the world better. We have these stories to teach people to be better people at the end of the day. We have these stories to teach people to be wary of things. Like a lot of horror movies. You see people grow up with horror movies and they're like, why would you go to the dark place alone? You know, why would you go make that choice? Well, what if you're in a situation similar to that? Are you going to make that choice now? No, because you see what happens when you do. Um, and then you have like great stories like Avatar: The Last Airbender about growing up, about taking responsibility, about like friendships and like this whole grand prophecy thing. Like it's these stories they mean stuff to us because these are realistic situations. Minus all the fantasy stuff, all the wizardry, all the magic, all the technology. These are still human stories, still stories that resonate with us at the end of the day. They still can inspire and change how we act and how we behave and what makes us good people, what makes us bad people, what makes us recognize what's good, what makes us recognize what's not good. Things that are healthy, things that are unhealthy. These stories aren't just mindless sugar. Like they aren't just mind sugar at the end of the day. They help people. They inspire people. They teach people to grow and become better. And I feel like we should have standards for stuff that actually leave imprints on people, like how Spider-Man left such a huge imprint on me. You know, I I don't like this idea of oh you're just hating on it for hating on it, and I don't like this idea of oh because you say that you have standards and I don't, you're an elitist. No, we just want things to be good because they'll have a positive effect. If they're not good, they don't really have any positive effect. They have more of a negative effect, I guess, at the end of the day. And I'm someone who's very forward thinking. I like thinking about the future. I like thinking about human potential. I like thinking about what we can do, what we can be. And that of course leads to next generations of people. And I don't care about politics sides. I don't really give a crap. But I want the future generation. I have a little brother. He's a little child, and I want him to grow up with stories that inspire him to be curious, to be thoughtful, to be helpful, to be resilient, to be a good person. And I want stories like that for everyone. I don't want stories that are like nonsense. Because ooh, wouldn't this be cool? I want stories that people can believe in, like not in a literal sense, but like what's the word? I'm looking for the word. Suspension of disbelief, something like that. Immerse themselves into. Like I'm gonna bring this show up because I fucking hate this show. But let's bring up Loki for example. The Loki show is a bad show. I don't care what you say. I'm sorry. I hate the show. It is so bad. But the one thing that made me hate it and lose interest to it immediately was that they took the god of mischief, master of illusion and trickery, and showed him a freaking slideshow or like a collage or something of events from his life that he has no understanding of, events from his life that he has no reason to believe in, and then he starts crying and becomes a good guy. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna take this character or his journey seriously if that's how you're gonna do him. If he's been set up to be this maniacal, evil person who manipulates and uses illusions all the time, I'm not gonna like sit and care for him if he's going to behave in a way that he's easily tricked and fooled. Even if it was true at the end of the day, if he found out that it was a true thing that they showed him, he still shouldn't believe it to begin with. He still would believe that they're trying to manipulate him because that's the thing that he does. That's the thing that he excels at. He's the god of freaking mischief. And you wrote him to be like this? No, that's why it's important to have quality writing and quality continuity and stuff because it's not just the story being good because it needs to be consistent in the universe that it's set in. You can't just force off a lightsaber, your opponent's lightsaber, because we've never seen that before. And if they start doing that, that's going to break the whole tension of all fights that ever happened before. That ruins like the continuity of it. Like, yes, theoretically it's possible, I guess, but there's probably a reason because, you're using force against a force user, and there's probably, like, precautions for that. I don't know. Not that big into Star Wars. But these things are important because if they take you out of the immersion of the story, you're not going to resonate with whatever the story has to offer. We need quality standards. We need these things to be good, like all around, not just for like the morals or the message, but for like continuity and for characters to be consistent with how they were. Yes, you can have characters grow. God of War is a great example. I love Kratos. I love the God of War Ragnarok, my favorite, probably one of my favorite games of all time, to be honest, because the writing is so good and the character is so great. I love that game a lot. And I understand there's a lot of fair criticism for it, but I feel like a lot of the criticism is much more nitpicky or whatever. But the point is, like, yeah, you can have characters grow and make them be completely different from how they were at the beginning, but you gotta, like, have a character arc for that to happen. You can't just, excuse me, you can't just, like, write them completely wildly differently on a whim because you think it'd be funny or cool or whatever. If you need something to happen, make sure it happens and it makes sense in the way the universe is working. Because at the end of the day, our universe, our world, our human history doesn't have continuity errors. We don't have plot holes. We don't have character assassinations. There's always a reason for something. There's always growth for one thing to happen for another. Unless someone gets into a car accident to have some brain damage or something, they're going to behave relatively the same way that they did for a while or grow into a different person over some time after having certain experiences or whatever. But the thing is, these worlds are not like complete. They aren't complete absurdity. They have their own rules. They have their own consistency. They have their own logic, and they're still human stories. They're still humanistic stories. No matter if you're writing about aliens, no matter if you're writing about robots, no matter if you're writing about whatever, because the only perspective we have as humans are humans. That's why so many things in stories are anthropomorphized. Even more animalistic stuff like Simba. Simba looks like an lion, but he talks and acts like a person. Despite him being on all fours and being completely lion-like, he still talks like a person because that's what we know. You know, Wally, he's a robot, acts and talks like a human. Well, he doesn't talk, but he still like has humanistic qualities that allow us to understand and believe in his journey. It's just we need the quality standard, and this plays into gatekeeping or whatever. Like I'm I'm against gatekeeping when it is for stupid reasons. I'm against gatekeeping when it's like, oh, you're trying to keep a certain demographic of people from enjoying a thing because it's not made for them. It's like, no, if they want to enjoy it, sure, let them enjoy it. But I think gatekeeping is fair, like for Doctor Who, when they say, oh, the core audience that was here before is not for you anymore. No, that's stupid. Let like keep making it for the core audience that it was there for. And if you want to make something else, make something else. Assassin's Creed is a good example. Assassin's Creed started off as a stealth-based parkour, environmental video game to go through, but now it's an RPG. Is very unfamiliar to the OG fans, and now the fan base is split because Assassin's Creed has turned into something else, and there are fans of the new Assassin's Creed games and fans of the old ones butting heads all the time. And people would always be like, well, it's no longer for you guys, it's for the RPG fans. I'm like, no, let us keep the thing that we like. If you want something else, if you want to make something for another demographic, for another fan base, make it for that fan base. Make it something else for that fan base. Don't hijack another fan base or another IP and then force the fan base to deal with it. No, that's ridiculous. I think gatekeeping is fine in that scenario where you're going in and changing something that people have been a fan of and making it for someone else when it was for this demographic to begin with. Like, yes, if you want to enjoy Assassin's Creed and you're more of a RPG fan or whatever, sure, you can give Assassin's Creed a try, like the original ones. And if you're not gonna like it, that's fine, right? Just because you like RPGs doesn't mean you're not allowed to like other games or other types of games. But don't like take one type of game and then force it to be another type of game, and then leave the original fans behind and be like, tough luck, kid. Because that's not good. That's not gonna make your fan base strong. That's not gonna make the people who gave you a lot of money happy. That's gonna like make people upset. That's gonna make people fight. That's gonna make people resent each other. And I don't want that to be happening. I don't want people to be at odds because the fan base was split because the executive producers or writers or whatever directors or something, they wanted to change things up and then just leave their core audience in the dust because they thought, oh, this would be so cool to be doing. I'm like, hey, if you want to do something, sure, but don't hijack an IP. I understand that a lot of people are like, a lot of things fail. A lot of things fail when they're trying to breach new material, try and like make something completely fresh and whatever. And I understand that a lot of these producers and stuff are afraid of trying new IPs, trying new characters, trying new uh, worlds and stories and whatnot, completely disconnected from something that existed before. That's why we have so many spin-offs, so many continuations, so many remakes and stuff. But like, it's it's also something to keep in mind that if you are going to remake, not remake, but if you're going to keep the IP of something while trying to make something new, that makes you limited in what it's trying to do. It makes you limited in what you can do, along with all the backlash that you can get. If you make like a completely new IP, a completely new story for whatever story you want to tell or whatever experience you want to provide, it gives you complete and total freedom. For like Assassin's Creed, if like you wanted to make something new, you didn't have to stay with the lore. You didn't have to stay with the animus. You didn't have to stay with the hoods. You didn't have to stay with the hidden blades. You know, and you also didn't have to deal with the fans of the original Assassin's Creed stuff to be mad at you. I I think gatekeeping is fine when you're trying to make new things and you're not. I think it's fine to prevent them from pissing off the original fan base of something that they like. And I understand. You always want to innovate. You always want to try something new, but you want to do it in a way where it's not completely unfamiliar. RE4, I feel like a lot of people over exaggerate the differences between RE4 and RE3, and I'm like, they're still both horror games. They're still horror shooters at the end of the day. Like, just RE4 just upgraded how the horror is going to, how the gameplay is going to be, changed up the horror a little bit, but it's still still a Resident Evil game at the end of the day. It still feels like a Resident Evil game. I played a lot of them, and yeah, RE5 is not. RE6 is really not a Resident Evil game, but like a good example, Devil May Cry. When they were making RE4, they wanted to make something else too, but it didn't mesh well with the Resident Evil franchise, so they made Devil May Cry. And now Devil May Cry grew up to be one of the greatest action games of all time. Like Devil May Cry is now like the top standard for hack and slash action combo games. Like if it if they tried to jam Devil May Cry into Resident Evil because they were afraid of trying a new IP, we would not have Devil May Cry 5. We would have Resident Evil 6 way earlier than Resident Evil 6, and probably Resident Evil probably would have died off at that point, and it would have just crashed and burned because like it's something completely different, is something completely away from how it used to be. I feel like RE7 is not that much closer to RE3 and RE4 than RE4 was. Um, I mean RE3 and RE2, but it's just like we need these stories to stay at a certain level of quality. We need these projects, these escapist fantasies to stay at a certain level of quality because we need to believe in something better. We need to believe in something more fantastical and more hopeful than the world that we are stuck in. I feel like the entertainment medium is more important than people give it credit for. Yes, it's entertainment, but it keeps people hoping. It keeps people trying. It keeps people from going crazy in their monotonous days. And it's not completely fantasy. It's not completely like so far out of the realm of possibility that it's just impossible. No, if I told you 1,000 years ago, if we lived 1,000 years ago, that one day I would be able to make a video or no, make a message to send to everyone on the planet that they could see at any point in time, where they could fast forward it, rewind it, play it back, pause it, and play it at some point, or play it however times they want to, you would call me crazy. You'd call me crazy because that just sounds absurd, but look at what we're doing now. So why is it so far off to believe that maybe Star Wars can exist sometime down the line, or maybe Spider-Man can exist sometime in the near future? Like the impossible is only impossible until someone makes it possible. Like 4 minute I think mile run, 4 minute mile, I think it was impossible at one point until someone beat it, and now it's like kind of commonplace in the Olympics. Like, I don't know. We need we need to uphold standards for the stories that we tell in the entertainment industry. We need to, as shitty as it sounds, we need to gatekeep people trying to change these stories to be something completely unrecognizable, or push out the original fans of these things and make something for themselves. There's a market for everyone. Branch out, make a market for everyone. I don't know. I feel like all this discourse of people hating on. Oh, and this is something that I kind of glossed over, but it's also interesting that a lot of anti-critics, people who are against critics, are always against the negative ones. And I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but people like ragging on Cinema Sins and leaves Cinema Wins alone, despite the fact they're both pretty equally inaccurate in their criticisms and praisals. Like it's just I get it. You want to like something, but we we should like something that deserves being liked. We should like something because it earned us to like it. We shouldn't just settle to like something because we like something. That's kind of honestly kind of sad to think about, where you're just so desperate to enjoy something, where you just whatever gets thrown your way, you're going to pay for, you're going to smile at, that you're going to love, despite the fact that it makes no sense, that the characters are horrendously written, despite the fact that it disrespects the original IP. Like, that's just that's just sad. I don't like if I grew up and I was given a dead rat as a pet, I wouldn't be like, "Oh yay, we have a pet." No, I'd be like, what the freak is this? Why are you giving me a dead rat as a pet? This isn't pet. This is a dead rat." Like I understand. Some people feel like they don't like in that situation. Some people don't really have really anything, and so pretending a dead rat is a pet is a good thing. But we have better stuff than what we're being fed here. You know, we have better stuff than modern day Marvel or modern day Star Wars and stuff. We have better stuff. We have original Star Wars. We have original Marvel. We don't need to settle for a dead rat when we still have the other pets. But I don't know. This is just something that I've been wanting to rant about, and I'm sure I probably glossed over some stuff, but I just want quality to stay at a certain level because I want everyone to have stories that they can believe in. I want the next generation to have characters that they can look up to. I want stories and experiences that can inspire people to be better or get people to think about something or get them to learn a life lesson that they would either need to be struggling to figure out in the real life, you know? Stories aren't just brain candy. They're not just brain sugar meant to just be consumed and then like forgotten about because it doesn't matter. They mean something to people. There's a reason why people are so big of fans of someone like Spider-Man or fans of the Star Wars franchise or something. It's because they mean so much more than just a distraction, you know? I feel a lot of people just don't really think of it that way. And it's kind of disappointing. This whole this whole thing is just disappointing to me. You know, we can have better stories. We can have better stuff. We just need to uphold standards, and we can't. If we spend the time fighting amongst ourselves because oh you didn't like something that I want to like, maybe don't fight the person who likes it or fight someone who doesn't like it. Or if you want to like have better quality, maybe understand why the person didn't like it. Maybe incorporate why that person didn't like it into your standards. Or if you disagree, disagree, and maybe you can help them understand why it's not that bad, big of a deal, or not that bad. But to just behave like everything is fine, or behave like people are just wanting to hate something because they want to hate something, that's just not true. That's not fair. If I'm gonna make a video criticizing something, it's because I want it to be better. If I spend a time yelling about something, I want it to be better. If I really just wanted to hate something, I wouldn't care to talk about it. Cause why waste that energy? Some people want to hate, I understand, but like for the majority, I really don't think people want to just hate things. I think it's really, especially when it comes to media criticism, I think it's really just because people want things to be better. And this whole internet discourse about freaking gatekeeping or about like anti-critics, like it's just exhausting and it's sad. And we spend so much time fighting amongst ourselves that they're still doing shitty remakes of Resident Silent Hill 2. Like we we need to uphold standards and we need to stop hating on critics for calling out poor quality stuff. We need to actually believe in better. We can't just settle for slop because that's just not it's not good. It's not fun. It's not cool. It's not even good for like the next generation of people who are have to live up with this. And if this is the standard that they have with, and then like the cycle continues where people are continuously complacent with stuff, things are only going to get worse and get worse and worse and worse until like I'm scared to see to think what kind of society humanity will have in the next uh 10 generations. But we just stop arguing with people who actually want things to be better. All right, if hear them out. If you disagree, just say you disagree. And if you like the new Assassin's Creed games or like how things are going, advocate for those things to be a part of their own franchise, their own medium, so that they could have their own fan base and have their own cake and eat it too or whatever. But there's a reason why we fell in love with the original stuff to begin with. It's not because of how things are now, or you know, I don't know. This has been a long-ish rant video, I guess. I just wanted to get something out. I'm gonna get a PC soon, hopefully, so I can get a better like capture card or better editing software and a better mic. But yeah, yeah, those are my thoughts. Thank you for listening to me rant if you still are. Sorry for going in circles a little bit. I know I do that a bit, but I'm trying to do better. Um, a Spider-Man video ranting about Spider-Verse scripted stuff. I don't know when I'm gonna make that, but I'm gonna try and make that soon. Maybe around the time that I get my PC. But yeah, yeah, that's about it for this video. Thank you for hearing me out, and I hope you have a good day. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.